You're tuned into the new season of the TheDrSelmaB Show. Welcome. If you're new to the show, pull up a chair. How was your summer? Did you travel or just enjoy being able to see grandparents again? Well, if you missed my episode on love and dating, 6 winning steps to a successful relationship, or the great resignation and SMART goals, you can catch up by going to our YouTube channel. Hit the TheDrSelmaB Show playlist, and when you're there, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's show is about knowing your worth, and my topics usually allow us to dovetail between my work in education and, of course, draw parallels to our personal lives. As schools reopen, there is much talk about our children falling behind on the test and that they have years of learning lost. There has also been lots in the news about the specialized high schools in New York and equity and access. Schools in a city that is predominantly of color, that remain segregated and have only a handful of black boys. And should school admission criteria be based only on a test? For today's show, I'm going to spend our time together talking about knowing your worth, but also understanding how our sense of self is often fueled by the testing culture. The test. Every day, students as young as preschool through grades 12, college, graduate school, and in every field, in order to get ahead, to become qualified and certified, you are lined up and tested. The tests are usually multiple choice, and you must respond in a timely manner. In the past, when you and I were students, we had paper and pencil exams. You can catch your breath, look over the exam, and decide what to do first and truly strategize. All of that has changed, and the pandemic has exacerbated the testing culture. You are now ushered to a computer. You only see one question and not the entire test, and the computer scores your answer immediately. And based on how you are progressing with each question, the computer will decide what question you get next and whether or not you even get to finish the exam. You don't get to go back to check over your work. Whether you learn best from hearing, or do you learn more from visual cues, or are you more of a hands-on learner? None of those matter. It's all about the test and your ability to respond to questions on cue. You get a score, and in K-12 testing, we now have levels. You are told you're a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, and a level 4, and level 4 being in the top tier. Imagine being a student on level 1 your entire school career, from 3rd grade all the way through high school. The students move from grade to grade and they get a score with the hope that the teacher in the next grade will help them to improve. What most parents don't know is that the teachers get a report, but don't have access to the majority of the test questions, or what we call the test items. In other words, moms and dads, the teachers don't get to see and interpret the questions on the test. The teachers in schools are fed the language that if the items are released, then the test becomes invalid. And of course, it's top secret because the test also has questions that are known as distractors. Give me a break. Pearson and the other testing companies gets paid hundreds of millions of dollars, and add it all up, it becomes billions of dollars making and selling the test and to keep reproducing failure. Parents are pushed into a frenzy because they're being told that this past year was a lost year, and as schools reopen, within the first 2 weeks of time, instructional time is given up for testing. And I'm a mom, and I know the feelings of panic and busyness you get when your child comes home with a report card with the test scores. And what about the student? They get a report, but they never also get to look at the test and reflect with his or her teacher. In Black and brown communities, when the children can't pass the test, then their entire school is labeled as a failure. And the teachers are now told that they are working in a failing school. And they are talked about as failures. You're a failing school because the subgroups of Black boys are not moving, or the subgroups of special education children are not moving. The school leader is now micromanaged and treated as failures and told that their work now becomes about raising test scores. And beloved, you now have districts that are failures. Parents are even unaware that in New York, we operate from the fact that although we think that there are many districts, such as a District 2, a District 3, and a District 5, the federal government sees New York City as one district, and it is in fact labeled as a district in need of improvement. And who does the blame and the shame of this title go to? It is as a result of Black and brown children, the economically challenged, second language learners, special education students, and of course, our Black-brown boys who fall short on the exams. Yet, there are schools where children never get tested and never even get a numeric grade. And what no one says out loud, yet the testing culture and the labels scream, is that the test is about a measure of intelligence. It has become the norm, and we never question where this measure of normal and this measure of intelligence comes from. In my love and relationships episode, I was talking about sex. Well, let's talk about sex again. Let's talk biology. To get to an understanding of how we come to know our worth and measure of a self, a must-read is The Mismeasure of a Man. There is a second reprint now. It's a hard read, but it's an important read if you're an educator, a policymaker, or parent. It is then a must-read. The author tackles the hard topic of biological determinism. What did you just say? Yikes. That's right. Let me break it down. He goes about dismantling the belief that shared norms, social and economic differences are as a result of inherited and inborn distinctions. Beloved, in other words, if you're rich or poor, it is inherently because of biology. Your worth is as a result of biology and specifically intelligent. And this prevailing belief is what our society today is organized around. Does society reflect your genetics and biology? Well, in 1851, the New York Tribune writes the following about the death of a scientist, noting that probably no scientific man in America enjoyed a higher reputation among scholars than Dr. Samuel George Morton. So you've never heard of Dr. Samuel George Morton. And who was he? Well, it turns out he went around collecting and analyzing skulls, the size of skulls of different races, to prove that if you were white, specifically a white man, then you were the standard of intelligence. The newspaper says that he was the man, the top dog. But wait a minute, take a breath, and imagine that public school in your neighborhood. Well, you can no longer take out a tape measure and measure the size of a child's head. They're not going to sit for that. So now what? Worth can be assigned to individuals and groups by measuring intelligence, the stuff inside the brains, by a single quantity. You now make the student part of the theatrics. They have to participate, they have to show up, get dressed, and take a standardized test year after year as early as grade 3 and continuing right through high school and beyond. The measuring tape has been upgraded. The test is about using science and data to perpetuate a prevailing belief that you are not intelligent, you are not worthy, and the lot you have in life is because of your biology. Finally, the author also notes that the title he chooses gets us questioning and wondering how to make sense of the reality of a truly sexist, and I might add, a racist past regarding the fact that males, and particularly white males, as the standards for measuring humanity. And that means women and any and everyone who is not white is a mismeasure of a man. Well, how do you know your worth? First, beloved, I want to shift our paradigm and let you know that there's a difference between assessment and testing. And as a company, we work with teachers, parents, and stakeholders to understand that difference. Our Legacy Lab Day model is powerful because it's not a one-shot test that's ongoing. It focuses on helping the student meet the standard, but we also want to exceed it by teaching our students how to develop meaningful work products. There are no nice and easy answer keys. And in our Legacy Lab Day models, our students do the work, which centers on helping and learning how to talk about themselves and to their peers with respect and empathy, how to address misunderstandings through writing, using academic vocabulary, and most importantly, engaging their peers. If it is only about the test, then we lose focus on confidence, voice, and leadership. Why does our model work? Well, our Legacy Lab Day takes place over time and in the normal everyday context of the classroom. Teachers are supported with coaches who care and helps them learn how to differentiate assessment and learning, which means getting to know and care for the learner. We develop student leaders and train them to facilitate talk with peers. And we also learn how to talk to adults with confidence. Our students get immediate feedback in real time, feedback from peers, feedback from their teacher, and also feedback from themselves. Most importantly, our model works because we celebrate and recognize student accomplishments and progress over time, and not only the test scores. The root word of the word assess means to sit beside. It implies that there's not a gray, scary person hanging over you. It says that the person doing the assessing must have a genuine care for me, the learner. If someone is willing to pull up a chair and sit with me and beside me. It has a mental model of an apprentice working alongside a master craftsman and a master teacher. It also suggests that it is ongoing and not the heavy burden of a one-off test that shows up at the end of the year. And beloved, this is what the Dr. Selma B Show is all about. It means that if I'm willing to hang out next to you and you willing to be next to me, then we're seeking to build a relationship with each other. In the context of schooling, I can't assess you if I don't have a relationship with you. And now the truth is revealed. It has been 67 years since Brown versus the Board of Education decision. If you are one of the specialized high schools holding on to testing, the message is clear. If you're a black or brown boy or girl, I don't want a relationship with you. And we have to get to those fears in order to move forward. And we get to fuel a broader educational system that keeps reproducing failure. How do they do it? Keep pushing the testing culture, which keeps teachers from having and building a professional and meaningful relationship with students. Now, allow me to dovetail. In the context of the day-to-day, let's take a closer look. You will see that the mainstream culture that is being pushed is all about go ahead and test that out. Every other month, you're maybe testing out a new partner, testing out a new drug, a new habit, test out every product in the market that may make you more bouncier, more curvier, more thinner, and better. And you're almost out of breath. Testing is not the same as sitting with yourself. This is a bit messier, and it means you have to like yourself, know yourself, be willing to discover yourself, and not judge yourself. When you take the time to get to know who you are, you can no longer be the grim reaper standing over your own self, berating yourself, and making you seek out all that stuff that gets in the way. And once again, I'm going to remind you, it is messy for me, and that is why we're here together. For example, I'm coming out of my year of cancer treatment, and I'm in remission. And going through this past year and still going through it, I realized that there were times when I might have stepped out of the shower, looked over the mirror, see my scar and the burn of my skin. Beloved, I had to take all the tests, you name them, the GREs, the SATs, the qualifying exams, and the countless exams, and I'm pretty sure you could name a few of your own. But in that scary moment, that was the real assessment. Do I push my eyes away and just get busy and dry off? Or carpe diem, seize the day to fall in love with the new me, get to know this new body, this body that some days no longer want to cooperate, and most importantly, create time to give my spirit the reassurance it needs to trust my body again and to move through the trauma of breast cancer. The culture of testing keeps us from ourselves, keeps our children from developing a relationship with themselves as well, and keeps our educators from being their best selves and truly learning how to build strong relationships, strengthen their content, and strengthen their pedagogical content knowledge. But what should matter in our personal growth? And what should we consider also as we seek to help our children grow? What shall we measure to really know our worth? I think we should start with expectations. To measure says that there's an input and an output. No matter what you are measuring, you need to have an expectation. I challenge you, raise your expectations for yourself. And if you're a parent, then raise those for your children as well. When you change your view, you're now going to focus on what inputs serve to create greater opportunities for yourself. You have the capacity to learn. And now what you do needs to open you up. What do you want for yourself? You and I both should consider, what do we want and expect from others? How do you want others to communicate with you? No one can read my mind. Therefore, how I communicate and how I expect others to communicate becomes essential to your sense of self and your sense of self-worth. Data is not the same as information. What are your goals, beloved? Go back to my episode on the Great Resignation and SMART goals. Consider the numbers and measures that you want to collect. Remember, without judgment. Maybe it's about your finances and your numbers for retirement. It could be data on your health index, blood pressure, weight. Do a food log. And even if it's your scorecard on your love relationships. First, collect your data and then see what information can you glean from it. And you may want to seek advice from an expert, but focus on finding an expert who is truly curious about your data and not someone who only sees you and the numbers. Check out Health in Her Hue. The founder, Ashley Wisdom, recognized the health crisis facing Black women and women of color and decided to take action. The platform is all about connecting to professionals who want to build a relationship with diverse women. Beloved, what I'm saying to you is that you need to do your research and find individuals who will help you and make sense of what you are dealing with and who will take the risks with you to move you in the direction you need and want to go to. This step you've heard me talk about before. No judgment. When you assess yourself, have compassion for yourself. The testing culture fuels judgment. When you're examining your current state and determining your strategy, stop talking trash to yourself and about yourself. Sadly, most people, especially women, do it and don't realize that they're doing it. Telling yourself that you didn't do this when you were young, or if only you didn't get involved with that person, or end up in those broken relationships, all of those criticisms don't work. Love yourself. Yes, reflect, take the lesson learned, reflect upon them, and see what you can do better. But you have to move past it. Remember, do no harm. Assessment is also not testing. And yes, they both matter. However, I have more than 20 years of experience, and I've learned that in order to seek change, you have to have a state of mind that keeps you in the game and in the fight. There are different theories about motivation. Maslow theorized that there was a hierarchy of needs, and the lower level needs have to be met in order to move to the higher level needs. A reminder that all of our episodes are available on our channel because you can take personal time and go back. My task for you is that I want you to find a moment, grab your journal, and reflect on Maslow's charts. What are your needs, beloved? Next, take baby steps. Take the time to take small steps. These small steps add up to a lifelong journey. Don't try to do it all at once because you get deflated and your energy is being stretched out too far and too thin. If you notice in the back of our journals, I didn't put the traditional to-do list. Instead, we focused on accomplishments. Release the million things that you have to do and focus on what you need to do right now. And as you get on your way, what you will discover is your learning style. You will figure out what works for you, what supports you need to keep moving forward, and the universe will conspire on your behalf. Beloved, what I also love about baby steps is that it gives you the chance to have a good back scratch. That's right, roll around in your wins and then be on your way. Finally, the important difference between assessment and testing is feedback. I mentioned the importance of feedback earlier when I talked about our legacy lab day model. However, feedback must be a part of all of our lives. I needed to grow and you needed to grow. And that's why I'm always asking you to send me an email, put a comment. Knowing yourself and your worth and measuring up takes courage. Courage to let go of the mental model of failure that is pushed from a system that seeks to tell you that your lot in life is based on the results of a test score. I am well aware that my company works with schools and we're fighting against the web of isolation that keeps teachers isolated, principals and leaders isolated in their buildings as a result of the labels of failure. Robust and rigorous learning will require us all to look towards a future that is not driven by testing. We want to learn how to do authentic assessment, and most importantly, we want the time and the energy to sit with ourselves, to know ourselves. In summary, We want to measure and raise our expectations. Don't get lost in the data because it's not the same as information. Motivate ourselves and know what our needs are. Stay free from judgment. Take baby steps and learn to value feedback. We have come to the end of our first episode of the new season. Learn more about the work of Partner with Legacy on our Awesome Sauce Legacy Lab Day model, which is changing the culture of testing, by visiting our website, or you can send me an email directly. And beloved, if you missed any of our previous episodes, or as always, I invite you to go back and revisit an episode. Be sure to go to our YouTube channel, hit the playlist, and remember, help Dr. B break the YouTube glass ceiling, and be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned, because our next episode is all about embracing new seasons. I love you for watching. Beloved, saying thanks is not the same as giving thanks, and I give thanks for you.